10 gardening mistakes that beginner gardeners make at the end of May. Cow. The end of May, beginning of June is a critical time for your garden, and it's the time of year that many beginner gardens make their biggest mistakes. But don't you worry, because we'll go through them one by one, most of which we'll be able to rectify quite simply with a little bit of advice and experience. Mostly, some of them you've ruined it, and that's it until next year. No! Yeah, that's what I thought. Mistake number one is arguably the biggest gardening mistake that beginner gardeners make, and it is to do with pruning. Your hardy shrubs generally either flower on the growth produced in this season and flower on that, or it will produce flowers on the growth that it produced last season. So there are plants in your garden that you need to prune immediately after flowering. There are others that you should not cut at all. That's as far as I'm going to go into it, because I made this video that explains most of it. You can't click on that. That is just a picture, but at the end of this video there will be a proper thumbnail that you will be able to click on. That will give you the information. Pruning, oh my goodness, the amount of things that go wrong there. Mistake number two is to do with watering, and both overwatering and underwatering are the biggest killer of all of your gardening plants. Now, it's generally the overwatering of plants that is the big problem. They are not your children. They don't need a drink of water every day. If you just keep chucking in water and water, the roots will become damaged, and if they're damaged they can't take in the water and they can't take in any nutrition. Now, you may be putting a lot of water down, but if your root system has effectively drowned, it can't take in any more water. So despite being soaking wet, your plant starts to wilt. Aww. And because it's wilting, you think it's dry, you give it some more water, and what you're doing is you're in a nasty little cycle that only ends up with the death of your plant. So overwatering, don't do it. Now, during periods of drought, you'll probably be watering your established plants once a week. You'll be watering your pot grown plants maybe every couple of days. Don't overwater it, and certainly don't just leave them out there thinking that there's a little bit of rain and that's going to keep it going. You don't have to water. That is just being lazy. Not you. I know you're pretty good at it, but you, useless. That is why all your plants are dead. While we are on this subject of watering, I'm going to add this one to number three, and it's to do with your hanging baskets. Now, if you are like-minded, you will think that a moss-lined hanging basket is the bee's nest. The problem is these dry out incredibly quickly. If you have a hot day with a warm, drying wind, you may need to water your hanging baskets twice a day. You might think that's crazy, but I'm telling you, twice a day is going to be the minimum that you're going to need to water these things. If you don't do that, they will wilt. The soil inside the basket will often shrink, so when you do water it next time, it's just going to overflow down the sides and just pour out the bottom. So even though you put water on it, it didn't go into the compost. So keep an eye on it. Warm days, drying winds, watering twice a day. If you're not doing that in the summer, you're going to end up with a dead hanging basket, and no one wants to see that. Mistake number four is to do with hardening off your plants, and the problem is you go to your garden centre, you go to your nursery, they don't want to talk about that because it is not in their interest. The problem with not hardening off your plants happens when you're purchasing plants from a retailer that has your plants grown under protection. So you're talking about, say, a overhead canopy, or you're talking about being grown in a greenhouse, or just any sort of protection that is above it, that's preventing the sun directly reaching those leaves. If it's grown under protection, like your polytunnel, like your greenhouse, these plants are considered to be soft. That means that they are not going to be able to cope with outside conditions, particularly if you place them outside in full sun. The leaf of your plant has a surface skin called an epidermis, and like your very own skin, if your skin wasn't used to direct sunshine, you will get sunburnt. It will go red and horrible. No one will like that. No one will be your friend. Same thing happens to leaves, except they just scrunch up, dry up, and die. And in extreme cases, it will kill off your plant. You'll have to buy new ones. Now you understand why the retailers don't want to tell you about this. When it comes to hardening off these plants, it will take about 7 to 10 days. But really, go to the 10 days. It's going to be better for you. You take your plants that have been protected inside, you place them out in the mornings or late afternoon, early evening, and put them in the sun. And then as every day passes, you bring them a little bit more into the light, a little bit stronger light, not too much, just for a short period of time. And you keep doing that over that 7 to 10 day period. So every day he gets more sun. By the end of that period, those leaves would have hardened off to being in direct sun, assuming you're doing this to plants that will usually grow in direct sun. We're not talking about plants that you would put into the shade, because that is the environment they have originated in. So hardening off prevents plant death, stops you going out buying some more. I'm literally saving you real money. Mistake number 5 is a very quick one. Whenever you plant a new plant into a larger pot, for example, you bought yourself a nice big terracotta pot, you want to put some bedding plants in it, that's all very well. You always remember to immediately water those plants and that pot as soon as you finish planting it up. The reason for this is because it helps the root ball of the plant you just purchased bind with the surrounding soil. When it's soaking wet, it helps connect the new roots to the new compost. If you just leave it dry, don't water it, the plants that you've just planted in their own little root ball are kind of just there, independent, not really attached to the surrounding compost, and they will easily dry out. You go away for an afternoon or a day or a weekend, come back, you might find all your new plants you planted out are dead. Actually, that also is a very good point, because if you have got newly planted plants and you are going away, no one can water them, pick these pots up, put them somewhere out of full sun, put them in the shade, put them somewhere that is not exposed to windy conditions. Don't forget, drying winds, direct sun will dry out your plants. Anything you've newly planted will be at risk from this. If you're going to go away for the weekend, put them somewhere else. It will take a couple of weeks for these to establish into the new compost. Just be aware. A very easy way to kill off your plants that you've just bought them, just invested all that money and time planting them up, and they just died through your neglect. Following on from dry compost, I'm going to quickly mention about you buying the wrong compost. You may not be aware that you tend to get 2 general types of compost. You get your regular compost and you get your Ericaceous compost. Long word, might not even be on the bag, but there are plants out there that require a slightly different pH, which is to do with your acidity and alkalinity of your soil, and other plants. So while most of your plants will be absolutely fine in a multi-purpose compost, closing the name, there are certain plants out there that will not do well in a multi-purpose compost, because it will generally be slightly alkaline, possibly neutral, but generally slightly alkaline. Plants such as your lovely camellias, they're not cheap, like your fancy rhododendrons, your magnolias, they're gorgeous, not surprised you bought one of them, or even your azaleas. There are Pyrrhus, wonderful Pyrrhus. These are all plants that cannot be planted in a regular compost. They must be planted in a acidic compost. The reason for this, because under alkaline conditions, these plants are unable to take in certain nutrients. We're talking about magnesium, we're talking about iron, to a certain extent manganese. These plants require these nutrients in order to create the chlorophyll pigment, that magic thing that turns sunlight into sugars using carbon dioxide. And if you can't do that, your plants will go yellow, insipid, poor flowering, stunted. You'll have a shocking plant in extreme cases. Once again, these plants can die, and it's your fault because you bought the wrong compost.
No!
You silly goose. Planting the wrong plants in the right place, or the right plant in the wrong place. Now, there was a book about this. I didn't write it, I haven't even read it, but it does go into detail as to which plants go where. You just can't pick a plant because you like the leaf, you like the flower colour, you like the size, whatever, and put it somewhere in your garden where it will look at its best, because that might not be suitable for the plant itself. It will stop flowering, it will look rubbish, it will go yellow, it will dry up, there'll be something going wrong with it. All these plants you get from your garden centre have come from different parts of the world. Then plant breeders took a mess about of them and created some kind of Frankenstein plant with massive flowers, very short leaves, look a little bit weird in some cases. But the key thing is, you can't pick up a plant such as a lovely hosta and then think, oh, I've got a really sunny place to put that in, because this is a plant that's evolved to grow in deep shade, wet conditions. The same if you bought yourself a like a hardy succulent plant such as a sedum and put that in the shade and in the wet. And also
Again,
this one, which is the same plant, evolved to grow in hot, dry conditions. Check your plant name, research the conditions that it requires. You can see this on the Royal Horticultural Society's website. I'm holding the camera with the other hand. And that way you'll plant every plant you buy in the best position in your garden, ensuring it will grow to its best capacity. You start flip-flopping their conditions, and all you end up with is a load of other rubbish plants in your garden. And people won't want to come around your house for tea, especially the vicar. This one is another classic beginner gardener mistake, and it's planting your plants far too close together. Now, you've purchased your plants from your garden centre, they're all going to be in little pots, and when you put your little pots in the garden, they look quite nice when they're sort of fairly close to each other, because it looks like you fill the area. But that's a terrible idea. You need to consider what the overall size of those plants will be once they've grown into their full size. Some of these plants, they could grow 3 foot wide, 6 foot wide. If you're planting trees, you could be looking at 3 meters wide. Always consider the final size of these plants and make sure you can accommodate that size when you're planting. It might look a bit weird when you first planted them with massive gaps between them, but it's going to be a far sight better down the line when they're all filling up those individual places and each plant's got its own space and looks amazing, and they're all cramped together, all competing with each other, looking flipping awful. Once again, it's all about taking a point of the name of the plant, checking what it does, what it needs, how big it gets. I see this problem so many times. Stop doing it. Mistake number 9. We're in May and conditions are almost perfect. The soils have really warmed up. We've still got a little bit of rain. The weather is absolutely lovely and the air temperatures are really increasing, and this means that all your plants are really starting to grow very, very quickly. They look amazing. But all this growth means they're using up a lot of nutrition. And what you don't want to forget is you've got to get some fertilizer and get some fertilizer on these plants so they've got the building blocks they require to build the leaves. Now, if you've got them in the ground, it might not be such a big problem because there will be a large natural resource of nutrition in the soil. But of course, you've got 2 big plants growing next to each other. They're both competing for the nutritions. One will probably do quite well. The other one might start to go a little bit yellowy, like we mentioned before about the wrong compost. And it's going to be especially bad for pot plants because the only nutrition they can get is what is in that compost. And once they've exhausted all of that nutrition in the compost, they will start to struggle, they'll start to suffer. You start to see like intervening yellowish on the leaves. It all starts to go wrong. You get stunted growth, poor flowering, all the rest of it. So this time of year, don't forget to purchase your fertilizers. You can either put down granular fertilizers, just put those broadly across the gardens. You could put down nutritious mulches across your borders, as long as you're not standing on valuable plants while you're doing it. Or probably the simplest way is to buy yourself a packet of fertilizer, liquid soluble, something like Miracle Grow, and apply that. A very quick, easy fix, keeping your plants in the tippest, toppest condition. Now, mistake number 10, and this is a mistake even fairly experienced gardeners don't even do, and it's to do with doing a regular walk around your garden, checking your plants for pests and diseases. The signs will be there if you know what to look for. Keep an eye out for irregular notching on the leaves, because that could be a sign of black vine weevil. Keep an eye on any fresh new growth, because you might be having infestations of aphids, which you're going to need to deal with. You might not want to be putting down chemical sprays on. That's absolutely fine, but there are plenty of other organic methods that you can use. What about your slug damage? You probably aren't going to see the slugs, but you have a look at your hostas, move a leaf around, you can see the telltale signs of some rather nasty damage. And if you do nothing about this, it's only gonna get worse. If you think that you can rely on nature to bring predators into your garden and deal with it, then you are a weirdie. That is not going to happen. Either you do it mechanically by you picking off, doing it yourself, putting down organic insecticides, putting down beer traps, using biological controls, which you can do. Like with your slugs, you can get a fantastic nematode solution to put it down. It's a bit of work, but then you either want your plants looking good or you don't. And there you go. Those are my 10 beginner mistakes that are often made at this time of year. And with many of these, if you don't action these in a timely fashion, that damage is done. You have to wait until next year for these to look good and to take control of what's going on in your gardens. Of course, depending on where you are, there's going to be other mistakes that are going to be time sensitive to make, that beginner gardeners make all the time. Is it because the nurseries and retailers aren't telling you? Probably there's quite a lot to do that. Or is it just simple mistakes that no one ever bothered to tell you about? Whatever they are, put those into the comments. It's a really good resource for our other viewers to have a look and learn from other people's experience. Thank you for watching. And like I said earlier, that is that video regarding the timely pruning. It's really important if you want good displays this year, better displays come next spring. There you go, right there, watch it.